Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are tackling something really critical, I think, for learners right now. It's this challenge of how you strategically use AI. How do you use it to enhance your intelligence without actually sacrificing the core skills that, well, make you smart? So our mission for you in this deep dive is to unpack the science behind something called cognitive offloading, and then hopefully build you a framework, something strategic and personal, for using AI as like a true second brain. Let's kick off with what it actually means. Cognitive offloading, or CO, it sounds a bit academic, right? But the sources give us this really simple analogy. Think of it like creating a mental external hard drive.
Exactly.
You're basically shifting those memory-heavy tasks, or maybe just routine mental stuff, onto an external system. Could be a notebook, could be an LLM. The point is, you free up your internal working memory, your brain's RAM, for the harder stuff, the higher order thinking.
And what's really fascinating right from the start is that this CO thing, it's not new at all. It's ancient, actually, a human survival practice. If you look at the history, the sources take us back, like, thousands of years.
Okay.
Think about the Sumerians. Their cuneiform tablets, they weren't just writing poems. No, they were mapping out really complex debt structures, business transactions. They were encoding what they usually spoke on to clay because, frankly, it was just too much information for one person's brain to hold reliably.
Like just too much to juggle mentally?
Precisely. And, over time, we just kept building tools for this. The abacus, that helped with math. The printing press, distributing knowledge way wider. And then later, calculators. And, well, obviously Google. Google profoundly changed things, didn't it? That sense of, I don't have to hold everything in my head.
It shifted the balance from knowing the fact to knowing where to find the fact.
Exactly.
Okay, so if we've always been doing this, building external cognition tools, why all the anxiety now about AI? That seems to be the core issue here we need to unpack for you, the listener. Is AI just, the next calculator, a step up in augmentation? Or is it something fundamentally different, something that could actually cause developmental harm to how we think?
Well, to get why it's so tempting to offload to AI, we really have to start with our own biology, our limits. The sources bring up George Miller's classic finding. Human working memory, it's incredibly constrained. We can only hold about, 7 plus or minus 2 items simultaneously?
7 plus or minus 2. Not a lot when you think about modern information overload.
Not at all. We're built for deep processing, not breadth, in the moment. And when we try to push past that limit, when we multitask or juggle too much, the cost is huge. Studies show that context switching, jumping between tasks, can slash your productivity by up to 40%.
40%, wow.
Yeah. Your brain is just constantly fighting to refocus, and that leads to serious mental fatigue.
Which makes strategic offloading sound pretty essential then. The research seems to suggest that if you move that routine stuff outside, you can significantly cut down on cognitive strain. Maybe relieve up to, 30% of that daily mental tiredness that just comes from managing information?
Absolutely. That 30% figure is significant. And the payoff for doing it strategically is really clear. You offload the routine data, the stuff you just need to access, not necessarily hold, and that frees up your brain's limited bandwidth for complex reasoning. When people use these external systems the right way, the research actually shows a measurable improvement, like 15 to 20%, in their ability to tackle complex reasoning tasks.
So AI, in that best-case scenario, handles the bulk data lifting.
Exactly. The retrieval, the initial sorting, it lets your brain focus on the synthesis, the critical judgment, the higher order thought.
Okay, so the science seems pretty clear on the benefits. Less strain, more energy, better deep thinking. So why is there this huge wave of anxiety about AI in learning and work? Is it just fear of the new, or is there a real cognitive danger here?
That's the crucial pivot point. Because the counter-argument, and it's a strong one, is that AI is fundamentally different from, say, a calculator or Google. An abacus did math. A tablet stored facts. AI is unique because it seems to threaten to offload the actual processes of thinking itself.
Okay, let's zero in on that. Processes of thinking. What exactly does that mean? What cognitive work is a learner, or anyone really, skipping when they lean too heavily on an LM?
Right. So for a student or even a professional facing a new kind of problem, AI can step in and do the ideation, the planning, structuring an argument, summarizing complex texts, even redrafting awkward sentences or debugging code.
Things that normally require mental effort.
Exactly. And the sources connect this directly to how we learn. Learning, fundamentally, is about changing your long-term memory. And there's that key insight. Memory is the residue of thinking.
Memory is the residue of thinking.
If you outsource the thinking, the struggle to build an argument, the effort to connect to opposing ideas, the work of structuring, then you simply don't build the necessary mental structures. You don't develop those schemas, those mental models that actually represent real, durable knowledge. You get the answer, maybe, but you skip the cognitive workout that builds your intellectual muscle.
The sources use a couple of really powerful analogies for this. The first one is the escalator versus the stairs. We're tempted by the easy path, right? The AI escalator. When what our brain actually needs for learning is the hard climb, the stairs, what scientists call desirable difficulties.
Desirable difficulties. It sounds counterintuitive, but the difficulty is good because learning requires that struggle. It's the effort that makes the learning stick. If you skip the struggle, maybe your teacher sees a fantastic output, like a perfectly written report, but that output has zero correlation with what you've actually learned or internalized.
You've completed the task, but haven't developed the underlying skill.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that leads right into the second analogy, which is maybe even starker. Using something like ChatGPT to complete a complex thinking task. It's like bringing a forklift into the weight room.
A forklift in the weight room. Okay, I get that.
You lift the weight, sure, task accomplished, but you've absolutely guaranteed that your own cognitive muscles, your ability to do that lifting yourself next time, will never actually improve.
And this isn't just theory, is it? There's actual evidence emerging.
No, it's not just theory. The evidence is starting to pile up. MIT studies, for instance, they tracked people using generative AI, and they found those who relied heavily on it showed the lowest brain engagement during the tasks. And over time, they consistently underperformed compared to those who used AI more strategically or not at all. That's at the neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels.
Lowest brain engagement. That's worrying.
It is. And maybe even more concerning is this idea of active skill decay. There was a study in The Lancet, a major medical journal. It looked at doctors using AI to help with cancer diagnosis judgments. The ones who relied heavily on the AI, they actually became measurably less skilled at making those diagnoses themselves over time.
Wow, so the tool made them worse at their core job.
In a sense, yes. It eroded their own expertise. This is the real danger of what some call digital amnesia. The risk of producing graduates or even professionals who fundamentally do not know what they think. They know how to get an answer from the machine, but not how they arrived at it or if it's right.
Okay, so this is serious. Where does that leave us? We can't just ignore AI. The answer seems to be not abandonment, but partnership. A really carefully managed one.
Exactly. We need a strategic solution. We need to create an effective cognitive partnership. And that means drawing a very clear line, an ethical line, really, between what we delegate to the AI and what we absolutely must internalize ourselves.
So how do we draw that line? What's a framework?
Right. This is the core framework you need to internalize. We have to define the AI's role, let's call it the mental scratch pad, and the human's role, which is your core intellectual skills.
Okay, mental scratch pad. What goes there?
What to offload to AI, the mental scratch pad. Think data volume, speed, first drafts. So raw data storage and retrieval, facts, figures, citations, finding those obscure references. Let the AI handle that. Routine calculations and data processing, analyzing huge spreadsheets, running standard code, obvious candidates. Also, initial draft generation and idea expansion, getting past that intimidating blank page, use it for brainstorming, maybe getting a basic structure down. And information synthesis across multiple sources, like asking it to quickly summarize the key trends from 5 different dense reports.
That makes sense. It handles the grunt work, the volume, preventing that context switching fatigue we talked about. Okay, now the crucial part. What are the non-negotiables? What must the learner, what must you keep internal? What's the core human intelligence we have to protect?
What must be internalized? The core human skills. This is the stuff that defines your expertise, your judgment. First, core principles and fundamental concepts of your field. You must deeply understand the underlying mechanisms, the why behind things, not just the answer the AI spits out. Second, critical thinking frameworks and evaluation skills. The ability to spot biases, errors, or just plain nonsense in the AI's output. You need to be the quality control. Third, ethical reasoning and value judgments. AI operates on probability, on patterns. It cannot make genuinely ethical decisions or value judgments. That has to remain human. And maybe most critically, meta-learning strategies. Understanding how you learn best, how you approach problems, how you recover from mistakes, how you integrate new knowledge. You absolutely cannot outsource self-awareness.
That point about meta-learning feels incredibly important, knowing how you think and learn. But what about the actual tools of thinking? The sources highlighted 2 ancient practices that are still essential even now. Writing and rhetoric, which is basically speaking or articulating your thoughts.
Yes, and the reason they're still vital is profound. Writing, especially, isn't just about recording thoughts you already have perfectly formed. It's often described as the process of figuring out what you think. The act of articulating forces clarity. Now, an LLM might technically be a better writer in terms of grammar or style on a first pass. It can produce clean text, but it can never be better than you at the hard work of figuring out what you actually believe or know or value. That requires that slow, sometimes messy internal work of thinking, drafting, revising, testing your own ideas.
Right. The AI can't do the thinking part of writing for you. Okay, so we have the framework. Offload the scratchpad stuff. Internalize the core skills in meta-learning. Now, how do we actually do that? What are the practical steps for you, the listener, to maintain this balance and avoid slipping into over-reliance?
Okay, first practical step. You have to actively audit your cognitive load. Don't just default to offloading everything that feels difficult. Really look at the tasks that drain your mental energy, then classify them. Ask two questions. How often do I need to retrieve or use this specific knowledge or skill, and what's its long-term value to my core competence, my essential expertise?
So frequency and value.
Exactly. Only the stuff that's low value to your core skills, but high frequency retrieval, maybe boilerplate information or routine data should really be prime candidates for the AI scratchpad. The high value stuff needs internalization, even if it's hard.
Okay, audit first. What next? Let's say you used AI to help understand something complex initially. How do you make sure that knowledge actually sticks with you?
That's where progressive detachment comes in. If you use AI to help grasp a concept, your very next step should be deliberate practice without it. Try explaining the concept out loud. Try applying it to a slightly different problem. Consciously reduce your reliance on the AI for topics as they become more familiar. If you used it to generate an outline or first draft, make yourself write the introduction, the conclusion, the critical analysis section entirely on your own without reopening the AI tool. Build that independence.
Progressive detachment. I like that. What else?
We also absolutely must combine any AI assistance with proven methods from learning science. Don't just passively review AI-generated summaries. That's weak. Instead, practice active recall. Force yourself to retrieve the information from your own memory. Test yourself. That's how you strengthen recall pathways. Use spaced repetition systems like Anki or similar tools, but for those core concepts you decided must be internalized. Not for everything, but for the essentials.
Right. Use the science of learning on the stuff you've decided you need to own.
Yeah.
And you mentioned one more technique, a favorite of mine too, for spotting knowledge gaps. The Feynman technique.
Ah, yes, the Feynman technique. Crucial now more than ever. The idea is simple. Try to explain a concept in really simple terms as if you were teaching it to a child. If you stumble, if you have to use jargon, if you can't make it clear and simple, that's your red flag. That tells you you don't understand it deeply enough yourself. And that's the moment to step away from the AI summary and go back to the source material or wrestle with the concept yourself. Do the hard work.
Identify the gap, then do the work to fill it yourself.
Precisely. And this all circles back to that idea of the developmental phase. One source put it very bluntly. The best way to learn how to use AI effectively later is probably to not use it for core learning during your early developmental phases. Get fully formed first, cognitively speaking.
Build the foundation the hard way.
Yes. If you outsource the thinking when you're supposed to be building that foundational knowledge, you inevitably build a weak foundation. It might look okay on the surface, but it's brittle.
So the ideal scenario then is that schools, universities, maybe even early career training, they should function as sanctuaries of human thought, places where that hard cognitive work is not just encouraged, but actually protected and required.
That's a powerful way to put it. Sanctuaries of human thought. Because, to reiterate the main theme here, this isn't about rejecting tools or becoming less knowledgeable overall. Strategic cognitive offloading is about focus. It's about smartly leveraging external tools to free up your very finite mental energy for the highest forms of human thinking. That's the critical thinking, the creative thinking, the conceptual thinking, the skills that AI can maybe mimic or prompt, but fundamentally cannot perform for you.
Right. Mastering this strategic use of AI, this cognitive partnership, seems absolutely key then. It's how you build that deeper, more durable knowledge, especially now with so much information flying around. It ensures you actually have the mental models, the understanding ready to go when the tool isn't there. Or maybe more importantly, when the tool confidently gives you a wrong answer, a hallucination. You need to be able to spot that.
You need the internal compass.
Exactly. So here's a final thought for you to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive. If we accept that real thinking is hard, and our brains are kind of wired to look for that easy forklift option, the AI shortcut, What is one staircase, one challenging critical thinking task related to your core field, your studies, your work, that you will absolutely refuse to offload this week? Something you commit to doing the hard way, specifically to build that irreplaceable cognitive fitness. Just something to think about. We'll catch you next time for the next deep dive.